Hello, you are listening to the Childcare Director's Chair podcast. Your host, Erica Sacosio, invites you to join her community of passionate and inspiring leaders in the ECE field, where she discusses, reflects, and shares the best ways to invest in our children, families, teachers, and community. Because after all, we know they are the heartbeat of any successful program.
Hey guys, Erica with the Childcare Director's Chair podcast. And if you love leadership and early childhood education like I do, you're going to enjoy today's episode. We are with one of the best, Dr. Daphne Booker Harris has joined us today. We're going to talk about being a leader, being a rock star with 3 simple steps. Now, she knows all about leadership. She owns multiple locations. Currently, right now, not 10 years ago, own centers right now, dealing with all of the same things that you deal with every day. But we want you to have confidence in your leadership and what you're doing in your programs. So we're here to help you out. So welcome to the show.
Welcome. How you doing? I'm super excited to be here.
And thank you so much. I know you had a long day doing and working and being a leader in your own programs, but thank you so much for being here today. So tell folks who don't know you a little bit about yourself, how you started this journey, about, you have multiple brands. Tell folks a little bit about it.
Dr. Daphne Booker Harris. I'm in Memphis, Tennessee. I am a child care owner and a coach and a speaker and all of that. But this journey started over 19 years ago in my home. I started in my home and I was in my home for about 7 years. And then I transitioned from a home center to a commercial center about 2012. And I've been moved from there to now. I went from one center to now owning eight childcare centers, and I operate 6 of the 8. And that has started this childcare journey that I'm on. And now I just love teaching and talking about early childhood education. This is what I do for real, every day. And I could talk about this all day, every day.
I do. In fact, I do talk about this all day, every day. So let's talk a little bit about what made you get started. Well, like you just woke up one day, or you just always knew you wanted to be a teacher, or what was it for you that made it be the thing that said, this is going to be my path?
So I didn't really figure out I wanted to be in early childhood education until I was in my 20s. I was in corporate, I was in banking, and I just basically felt like I was at a dead end place in banking. I've always been innovative, felt like it was something more. You ever had a job that you like, I do this job because I want the paycheck, but I really have this burning something that's just, it's something else that I need. I need to do something else. I just need more. And so because of that, I sat down one day and I just wrote down all the things that made me happy and all the things in my life that caused me to be happy and caused joy. And everything that I wrote, it led me back to when my grandparents owned the childcare center. And so I said, aha. That's what I want to do. I want to be impactful like my grandparents. I want to do what they did. They left a legacy and a lasting impression on people. And that's what I want to do. I want to lay the foundations. So I started from there. I started taking classes. I started really understanding business. But the passion came from laying the foundation and just wanting to make an impact on my community. That's where I'll stem from.
Those are great things. And I think that, for a lot of us, that's really truly where we come from, that piece of passion, what makes us happy, what gets our fire going, because it isn't a job. It's a job, but it's not a job. It's actually not a job. It's a profession. It's a career. It's a passion more than anything, especially coming back day after day after day, because it's been really, really hard the last 4 or 5 years. So let's talk about that, because we have so many new directors that are coming into the field right now, and maybe they're not confident. And certainly owning 8 child care centers, running 6 of them takes a lot of confidence, leadership, and charismatic. So let's talk about that. What do you think the key traits are to be confident in your role as a child care director?
Being confident in your role is just really honing in on your policies. being stern on your policies. If it's a policy, then that's the policy. Don't go back on the policy, because that's what helps with your confidence. Because when you're talking about something, you should know exactly what you're talking about, and it should lead back to your policies. No matter what happens in my program, I tell my directors all the time, what does the policy say? It doesn't matter if they're not comfortable with talking about it, they're not comfortable with saying it, but if it's in a policy, then that's what it is. It doesn't matter how it makes us feel. It leads back to the policy. And I tell my directors, if you're not comfortable with talking about it and you don't feel comfortable in what you're doing, just always go back to the policy. Then that you will never go wrong with sticking to the policies, because when you stick to the policy, you will never go wrong with that. And that helps with your confidence. It helps build your confidence because you don't waver from what the policies say.
And so when we talk about policies, which I agree, we have to have rules and we have to have some semblance of what are we doing here to reach our mission and our goals. But let's think about the delivery of that, right? And I think that that's where being a charismatic, right? Because we could say the same thing in two very different ways, because you got to remember, your delivery matters, right? And especially when you're talking to parents, or because that's who we're going to talk to policies, right? It's either parents or employees. The delivery matters. So what is your advice around the delivery of a policy?
So I tell my leadership team, when it comes down to delivery, you have to understand when you're communicating with someone, everybody communication style is different, and the way they receive information is different. So you can't assume when you say it that they're going to accept it or they're going to receive it. So you have to say it in a way that everybody understands it, and it does not offend. It does not offend anyone. So I always lead with a question. When something happens, I tell my team, ask them a question, then you'll understand where their headspace is. So you know how to deal with the situation, because we can't go in situations assuming that the person understands. Because when things happen with, be it a staff or a parent, the confusion comes in sometimes because they simply just don't understand it the way you understand it. So the first thing I do is start. I lead with a question. I ask them a question around what's going on to ensure that I understand their thought process before I respond. So that helps me deal with the situation better. So you won't come off aggressively, you won't come off offensively, because you hear from their point of view. And when they tell you, when they answer the question, then you let them know that you're actively listening, and then you lead them in the right direction. Instead of me telling the staff you should have did it this way, I say, how about we do it this way? Have you ever thought about, let's do it this way? Because this will cut down on your time frame. This will give you a better response if you do it this way. I lead with a question, and then I model what I want to be done. And I do the same thing when I talk to the staff and when I talk to the parents. And then they receive the information better. Instead of me just coming with a rebuttal, then a lot of times that's how you butt heads. But if you ask a question, you can really understand what a person's thought process is before you respond.
Yeah. And I love that. So let's dig a little deeper, because I do think that that does happen very often, especially for new directors or directors working with new staff that they're not used to. There is kind of like this, I don't want to say power struggle, because policies aren't really made for that. They're not punitive. They're so that everybody understands how we act, engage, or what's expected of us in the environment, right? So share a story that you can think of where maybe, somebody might have been challenging either a policy or a director when they kind of asked a question, gave the answer, and maybe it wasn't quite what the other person wanted to receive.
So I had an incident in one of my programs recently because I bought three schools at one time. Okay. And so I bought three schools at one time. And so I had to work with the site director because she came from the school district. She never worked in early childhood education, but she worked in education. And so her leadership style was different because she used to working with bigger children. And so when the other day, when she went into the classroom and she wanted the teacher to put the snacks on the table and put the napkins down, the teacher had the snacks on top of the cubby and she was doodling on the tablet. So she went in and was like, "What are you supposed to be?" No, she asked her, she said, "Aren't your snacks supposed to be on the table?" And the young lady said, "Yeah, when it's time for snacks." And so the young lady then put the snacks down. And so when she walked off and came back, the snacks wasn't down. So she felt like the lady was being insubordinate because she asked her to put the snack down. But technically, you did not ask her to put the snacks down. You asked her a question, but you didn't give her anything else. You walked off. You left the whole situation to chance. So I went back in there and said, "What are you supposed to do when the children are laying down during this time?" She said, "This is our planning session." I said, "Have you finished your curriculum?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Once you're done with your curriculum, what are you supposed to do?" She said, "Oh, prepare my snacks for snack time." I said, "Well, if you're preparing your snacks for snack time, what are your snacks supposed to be?" She said, "They're supposed to be on the table." Then she stood up, she got the snacks, and she started putting them on the table. So when I said it, it was she received it differently because I walked her through the steps. I walked her through the process. And so then she put the snacks on the table and she said, "Oh, that's what she was asking me to do." I thought she was asking me when I was supposed to do it. And so it was just basically a lack of communication because she did not follow through with the information. The teacher assumed she was asking her when to put it out, and the director was telling her to put it out, but didn't say it in the proper way. And so she was offended, felt as though that she wasn't listening to her. And so when I came back in and I reiterated, the young lady got up, she put the snacks down, and then I told the new director, because she's fairly new, I said, "When you talk to them, you can't talk at your staff. You have to talk to them so they can really understand what you're coming from." She wasn't understanding that you was asking her to do it right then because you saw that she was on her tablet doing something else other than what she was supposed to do, but you didn't address that. You went around the situation instead of walking her through what the true policy and procedure is. And so that's how we dealt with that situation.
That was a great example, a great example. And I think that that probably happens more often than not. And, I know lots of childcare directors who watch this channel, we like to tell the truth here. And so sometimes, we get offended and say, they're not listening, but sometimes it's our communication style and you got to get really good at communicating with people. And communication skills are the number one thing I feel like in a childcare center, really, because I just think in life, communication skills are so important, right? So,
Yes.
yeah, that was a great example. Thank you. So, what strategies do you think that childcare leaders can use to overcome that self-doubt as they build their confidence on a daily basis, especially if you're just starting out?
So is really understanding what your role is on a day-to-day basis, really understanding the role, because when you're new to a position, a lot of times they don't have a structure in place, like the owner or whatever can give you a schedule. But let's be honest, when you first start, you be all over the place when you first get to work, not really knowing where to start. So you have to really figure out what your routine is, right? Figure out what your routine is so you can help build your confidence. Because once you know what you're doing from day to day, from moment to moment, that helps build your confidence because you know what lane you're going in. You know which direction you're going in. Following a clear schedule, knowing exactly what you're doing, because organization is the key to having confidence. Because when you're all over the place, it decreases your confidence because now you're making mistakes, things are going wrong, you're talking to your staff in passing because you're trying to beat deadlines and you're trying to do this because you're not organized. And when I tell my leadership team, once you understand how to organize your day, yes, I gave you a schedule, but I need you to own this schedule. I need you to organize it in a way that it works for you.
Yeah.
That way, it helps with your communication. When you get up and do your walkthroughs in the classroom, you're not talking at your staff. You're taking the time to deal with the situation at the time, at that moment, instead of rushing through just doing check marks. You know how new directors, you give them a checklist and they just going through the checklist. They just trying to check off the boxes. They trying to check off the boxes. But when you're just checking off the boxes, you're mixing the mark. You're missing building that camaraderie with your staff. How you build the camaraderie with your staff is taking the time out to just have simple conversations when you see things that could be better, you think things that could be built on, because at the end of the day, you're the expert. And you have to coach your team up. And the only way you're going to do that is taking time out to coach them when you see things out of line. And that helps build your confidence, because why? Now they trust what you say. They trust what you do because you're taking the time out to show them and talk to them instead of talking at them.
Yeah, there's two things I want to add to that, and that's a great point. So, two things is one, I want to say, not only when they're, you're coaching them and showing them when things need to be better, but catch them being good too, because
Yes.
that's a good confidence booster for them and for
Yes.
you. Like, all right, I'm proud of you. You got that, and then also the follow through, because I do see that too, where leaders will give them like, oh, here's all the things you need to correct, but then you don't follow through and follow up with them to see how they're going, to even know if they were able to implement those things. Did they still have questions about them? Are
Yes.
they still struggling, or did they master it? Right. So I think that is another way to help build their confidence and yours, and planning your day. That was such a great piece too that I really want to make sure that people caught, because so often, especially right now, we're so used to just going in and what fires are you going to put out, and the first 3 hours of your day is what are the counts, who am I moving, who called out, whose parents in the inbox. So planning your day in a way that makes sense. Do you do time blocking, or what do you use for your like time management to get yourself organized? You talk about being organized. Give a little insight on what you, especially someone as busy as you, give a little insight what that looks like.
So we use a calendar. We use a calendar, and our calendar has time blocks, and it has a time for everything, right? It has a time to get up and walk, a tentative time for you to get up and walk around and talk to your staff. You have a time to get up and walk in the kitchen and talk to the cook. Like, I have a time block for all my site directors, all of my leadership team. They have a time block and a schedule, that a calendar that tells them when to do everything. Do they have to do everything exactly like the calendar? Absolutely not. But we give them that guide so they won't forget those little touch points that you was talking about. Being able to go in the classroom during this particular time to catch them doing something amazing. We have a box in the office that say you've been caught doing something amazing. And then they get to pull something out of the box. In the box, it could be a mug, it could be a gift card, it's a lot of different things inside of that box. And then they just get a chance to come in there and pull it. You know how in the classroom they have treasure boxes for the students, where in the office we have a box that says you've been caught doing something amazing. And the directors give those out when they catch their staff doing something amazing. But how they're going to catch them doing something amazing? Following their daily schedule, getting up, looking in the classroom, walking in, talking, interacting with the students, because you have to make sure that you keep that relationship going. So we use a calendar. They have one on their desk, and they also have an electronic version so I can see it, because by me have multiple locations, we do have that calendar where I have to see the calendar as well. But they have one that's a paper calendar, and then they have electronic version that they use to keep their day and their organized. We use ClickUp to be. We actually use a tool which is called ClickUp to help us with our schedule and help up with our tasks for the day.
Very nice. Yeah. So, I mean, we use Team Up, which is something similar, but I do find that not all admin follow it the same way. Some are, some are more vigilant at it than others. So One of the things about being confident, there's also the other side of that. So, how do you balance confidence with humility and leadership, especially when managing diverse teams with different needs, different backgrounds?
Ooh, that was hard for me at first. That was so hard for me because I felt like what we here to work. Like I got a job to do. You said we can be transparent on this call, right?
Yeah,
I was like that. I didn't know how to show humility at first. Like I didn't know how to do that because for me, we got work to do. We got kids to take care of. What are we talking about? But I had to learn that their opinions, their feelings, their emotions, their thoughts matters. It matters. It matters. So now not just me, my team, they take the time to listen to what the staff has to say, what the parents have to say, what everybody has to say, and take it in consideration before we make decisions or before we respond, simply because we don't want people to feel like they're not valued.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's how you build confidence with your team, your parents, everybody. Everybody's opinion is valued no matter what the situation is. Take the time to listen.
yeah. I think, I come from such a heart centered type of leadership that folks don't sometimes folks don't get me and they're like, oh, you're doing too much, Erica. I'm like, no, because to me, my people are number one. That's the number one thing. I can't have a business without them. I don't care how good I am. If I don't have my staff plugged in to see the vision, the mission of our program, then it's all for naught. It doesn't matter. I don't care. And I've got the shiny centers on the left and the right of me. And the thing that makes my center special is the people. And I'm very aware of that. It is our culture there. So it's so important. And now more than ever, you got to be very competitive to keep your team, right?
Yes.
Because everybody, especially if you got a good teacher, everybody wants them. They don't got to stay and put up with your nonsense. They don't. They don't. So treat your people right for sure. And so, how can a leader's charismatic personality impact the overall atmosphere of a center and the culture of a center, right? Because we all know them. We've got them, right? We got Sunshine Susie and then we got Debbie Downer, right? So, talk a little bit about how charisma also impacts your center.
I tell my team that your energy, the energy that you bring to a building, right? When you walk in the door, that energy is transferable. It's transferable. It's contagious. You may have a Debbie Downer in the building, but if you have this charismatic behavior where you're happy and your energy is good, that person has not, they can't do nothing but transform to your behavior because your energy has transferred to them. So I tell my team, because she's having a not so good day doesn't mean you have to have a not so good day, because it may be your responsibility to help her have a good day. You know how when you walk in and you smile, when a person smile, see, that's contagious. When you smile, the next person is going to smile. When you walk in and you smile at a person, even if you don't know them, they're going to automatically smile back because that's contagious. And I tell my team, if you know a person is not having a not so good day, just smile at them. And if they're open to just giving a hug, then give them a hug. I'm a hugger. And if I know that a person is having a not so good day, my energy is going to transfer because I'm going to smile, I'm going to be happy, I'm going to give you a hug, I'm going to ask you, what can I do to make you feel better? What can I do to make you have an amazing day? And when I ask them that question, a lot of times it's, can I just get a hug? Or I just need a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. I tell you what, I'm going to make you a cup of coffee and I'm going to have Mr. So-and-so relieve you for about 10 minutes so we
Yes,
can
ma'am.
have a cup of coffee. right? So sometimes it could be simple things. I just ask the question, what can I do to make your day better? And so the energy that you put out when it comes down to your staff, just smiling, doing simple things about asking them questions and giving them hugs, all that is transferable. And I tell the teachers the same thing. If little Johnny come in your classroom and every day Mr. Little Johnny is giving you a hard time, when little Johnny comes in, let's not talk about what little Johnny did yesterday, and let's not treat little Johnny as if he did that yesterday. Let your feet be planted in today. What happened yesterday was yesterday. What needs to happen today is today gonna be a great day. Because why? When little Johnny walked in the classroom, we're gonna say, little Johnny, today is gonna be an amazing day. And you're gonna start off with a happy face, and you're gonna be my class helper. What happens is your energy just transferred to little Johnny because now he's like, oh, I'm having a great day. She's not mad at me for what happened yesterday. And then now little Johnny's gonna smile because he's the helper. And that now the energy has shifted because a lot, we're dealing with kids with a lot of behavior problems. But if you keep harping on their behavior, then it's not going to change. It's only going to change by your energy. Your energy can change anything. So your charisma, how you treat, how you smile, all of that is transferable. And when you do that, no matter how the other person receives it, they're going to eventually transform into what you're doing too.
Yeah. And I think not only is it transferable, but it also for yourself, right? If you're having a bad day, walk around and say, you know what? I'm not having the best day and I need a little love back. So that's okay to do that. It's okay to do that too. But, just the more that you're in a good mood, the more that you spread that around, the more that it's right. If you have 20 people smiling in a building and there's only one not happy, usually that one who's not happy it's going to be hard to stay not happy when everyone
Yes,
around you is happy. So uplift each other because gosh knows we need it in
we
this
need it.
field. We need it. Yeah. So how do we empower staff? Let's talk about how do we empower staff to take initiative and ownership in their roles.
So we can empower staff by honing in what you know they're great at. See, people, when we're talking about owning their roles and being confident and all of those things, you have to make sure that we're capitalizing on what that person is great in, right? What they're amazing in. You may have one teacher that's amazing in science. So every time she's doing science, she's smiling, she's happy, her energy, she take ownership to that. So if you know that, then why don't you have that teacher show all the other teachers how to incorporate that into their classroom? That gives that teacher ownership to, hey, I'm really an expert in this area. But you know what? I'm not really good at art. You good at art. Can you help me with my art projects with my students and I'll help you with your science project? So then that's how you can encourage them to collaborate, teamwork, and own what they do well. I hone in what a person's strengths is, what their strengths are. And I find another person that can help them with their weaknesses. Because we're not going to worry about what you're weak in. We're going to help you become confident in knowing, okay, I'm not that great at this area. I'm okay. I'm going to improve in it, but I'm amazing in this area. So I help build that confidence by honing in on what they great in and owning what they're good at versus me honing in what they're not good at. Because I can find somebody that's good at something else, or I can help you develop in the skill that you feel like you're not good at. Because sometimes you may think that you're not good at something that you're amazing in, but you just can't see it in yourself because you're being too critical of yourself.
Yeah.
And so, especially like I had one teacher, she was like, I'm not that great at circle time. And I said in the classroom, I said, well, I'm gonna demonstrate how it should be done. We demonstrated how it should be done. And I said, okay, let me see you do it. We watched her do it. And I was like, you're amazing. She said, you did great. You did X, Y, Z. When I pointed out to her the things that she did well, she didn't even realize she did that many things well. She was so caught up on the one thing that she didn't know how to do, so she didn't even realize that it was 10 things on there and she knew how to do 8. So to me, you're winning when it comes down to that because you know how to do majority than things than not. So building their confidence and building and causing them to own their classrooms and their space and whatever they're doing is basically honing in on what they're great at. And that's what I do for my program. Everybody deals with their skill set and we make sure we help them with their weakness.
All right. So we talked about boosting confidence and charisma. We talked about inspiring your team. Let's talk about the last thing I want to talk about today, which I love. You said earlier, well, we got work to do. So let's talk about driving results. In your experience, what are the most effective ways to set measurable goals and track progress in your childcare setting?
So measurable goals we have two different ways that we set measure goals in our programs. We have for our leadership team, they have a form they have to fill out to track to write down their goals, and then they have to put down that steps that they're going to take to reach their goals on the leadership side. On the teacher side and weekly on the leadership side, weekly we sit down and we look at those to see um what went well and what did not go well and did they achieve those goals. And the funny thing about it, without me giving them goals, because I used to say, well, your enrollment goals is this and you have to do this and you have to do that. I stopped doing that. I empowered my team to come up with their own goals, and they tell me how they're going to reach those goals instead of me telling them what to do, because now they own their role, they own their goals, and they know the action steps that they have to take. And then in that, they tell me who's going to help them get to that goal, right? And so that's a weekly goal for leadership team. Far as the teachers, they have the same type of thing. They write down what their goals are for their classrooms and what they want to achieve and accomplish in their classrooms. And then the directors go in and they watch them in that area and they help them improve in the area that they wrote on their paper that they want to improve on, to ensure that by the end of the quarter, whatever they put on their paperwork, they have accomplished that by assisting them and helping them with that process. The teachers write it down and they do the action steps, and the director help them get to that goal, and they measure it by going in there with them, watching them do it, or scoring them, whatever they need to do to ensure that it's done. They help them get to their goal.
So sometimes it's a lot, right? So we might make these big lofty goals. So how do your directors ensure that the team stays focused on those long-term goals while also addressing like the daily urgent needs of children and families that they serve?
So the long-term goals for a lot of our staff that's real long-term is continuing education, right? It's continuing education because life start life and they go home, they become parents, they parents at home and then they're teachers at school. So a lot of them get discouraged, like I want to go back to school. I don't know if I really can do it because of life. And so what we do with our staff when it comes down to those long-term goals with continuing education, we put a tuition reimbursement program in place that we assist them with their tuition. And not only do we assist them with their tuition, we allow them time while they're at work to help with their homework. If there is an area that they need assistance with, then they let their directors know. And then we have a core group of peers that have gone through the process of education and classes that'll help them with their homework, and they sit down and do that with them. They schedule a day where they come over and they help them with their homework, and then we give them an opportunity to use the computer and print out their work so they can complete their classes. Because a lot of times when they get home, they just really don't have time. They really don't have time for that. So we've created an environment where we give them an opportunity to sit down and complete those to help them with their long-term goals. Because at the end of the day, if they continue to go to school and they reach their goal, it's not just going to benefit them, it's going to benefit our program as well, because we see their long-term goals on how it add value to our program as well.
Yeah. How many employees do you have?
82.
Girl, woo! It's a lot of employees. God bless. I've got like 42 and I couldn't imagine having double that. So God bless you. So thank you so much for sharing all of those wonderful tips. So before we wrap up, is there anything that you feel like you want to let folks know that I didn't ask you?
So since we're talking about leadership in a time such as this, I just want to just encourage all of the leaders, whether you're owners or directors, or you just a lead teacher, or you're a lead teacher in the classrooms. I want to just encourage you to stay focused, stay consistent, and stay the course, because I know that every day in this industry is not the same. Every day is different, right? We say we're going to go by the schedule, we're going to do all these things, and we get in and childcare start childcaring, okay? And sometimes it doesn't work that well, but it's not what happens to you in a day. It's how you control and how you deal with what happens in a day. It's not what happens. And I tell my director, things are going to happen. We know it. We know Johnny gonna get scratched. We know Sally gonna fall on the playground. We know things are going to happen. It is okay. It's how you respond to what happened. And a great leader learns how to lead and respond well, because everybody around you is watching how you respond. And your response control the environment, it controls the energy, and it's contagious, because when you learn how to respond to things that happen, your team will take on that same way of responding to things when it happen, because your behavior is contagious and you are the leader and everybody is watching. So watch how you respond when things happen and just stay the course, because your team and this industry needs you. That's it.
Yeah. Those are great words of wisdom. Thank you so, so much for being a guest. For those of you who are listening, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Please join our community to listen to other amazing leaders like Dr. Daphne here. And remember, it's the small details that make a big impact on the success of your childcare business. That's all for today. See you later.
Well, all the cute little kiddos have been picked up and it's time to go home. And that'll do it for another episode of the Childcare Director's Chair. Please leave a review so Erica knows the information is helping you to manage and improve your childcare centers. Remember to subscribe to get the latest episode from Erica's Childcare Director's Chair.